founder of Conscious.Enterprises, and welcome to Conversations with Conscious.Enterprises. This conversation is one that meant a lot to me because it's with a woman that I looked up to a lot at my first job out of college. If you're a foodie or any sort of glutton for those cooking challenges on TV, you may recognize her as one of the judges on the next Food Network star, Susie Fogelson. That was while she was the SVP at the Food Network and the Cooking Channel. Not only is Susie a magnetic and empathetic leader from the corporate world, but she's also showing major food brands how they can take a socially conscious approach. Today, as the founder of Fogelson Co, Susie is now serving the food industry by helping brands find their food story and tell it. In doing this, she's also elevating awareness of innovative food trends, a lot of which we discuss in this conversation. Susie will share in this conversation her journey of following a passion for food, her experience in striking major revenue-generating deals with advertisers. We also just dive deep into many of the current food trends that are super interesting. The importance of being socially conscious as a culinary brand. We talk about food tech versus agriculture tech, and just her own approach to sustainable eating. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Please subscribe. Please follow on social media. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. And of course, you can find us at www.conscious.enterprises. So thank you so much for being here. I cannot believe that Susie Fogelson is in my apartment right now. Okay. I have to start by telling you actually, I kind of idolized you, I think, when I first started at the Food Network. I was 23. It was my first job out of college with Michael Smith. And he was an amazing first boss to have, first of all. But I remember distinctly one day, he asked me, he was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And I remember telling him, I don't even think I really understood what your job was or what you even did back then. But I remember telling him, I was like, I think I want to be Susie Fogelson. He was kind of like, all right. He's like, well, you got to climb the ladder and this and that. And I was like, okay.
Well, hopefully you've grown out of that.
I obviously did not become Susie Fogelson, but it's pretty cool to have you here. So.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. And I'm pleased that you're starting your own thing and doing it, I think, in a really progressive space.
Awesome. So, thank you so much. Yep. So, you are now the founder and CEO of Fogelson Company.
Yes.
You were the former senior vice president of Food Network and the Cooking Channel. And a lot of people might actually recognize you from being a judge on Next Food Network Star. So it's quite a resume. You're clearly what we can call a food trends expert. Let's start from the very beginning, though. I want to hear about where you grew up. How did you grow up, and what got you into food?
Sure. I grew up in Los Angeles. And I was raised by my dad, and whenever I think about why I'm so passionate about food and why food means so much to me, I can kind of trace it right back to my roots growing up with my dad. So my dad's kind of a born and bred New Yorker, and he moved to the West Coast, so we were in Los Angeles. But we would have very specific food occasions. So every Sunday, bagels that I enjoy. This little dump where you waited online, it was super hot, they made the bagels on site, and we'd grab our hot steamy bag of bagels. Then we'd go to the supermarket and we'd get our tomatoes and we'd get our onions. And then we'd go to the deli and we'd get our white fish. I mean, this was his ritual. Aww. We did this every Sunday. And he had a lot of those. And I think just growing up, I realized that food was an experience. And that's what makes it so personal. And it is just a huge turn on as a marketer to be able to connect. I've marketed a lot of stuff in my life, and I think food is probably the most exciting because of the connection that people have to it, because of the connection that I have to it.
Awesome, I love that. So what was your first job, and how did you end up at the Food Network?
My first job, I'm from LA originally. Mm-hmm. I went to UCLA.
Yeah.
And my first job was at this, as an assistant media planner.
Okay.
At an agency called Shy Day.
Okay.
And Jay Chiat was, sort of the godfather of account planning and account strategy, which at the time was relatively new. So really a strategic approach to advertising and media. He was also one of the largest modern art collectors in the world. He's passed away. So this office was one of the most incredible offices that I'd ever been to. So I walked in as an assistant media planner in a building that Frank Gehry had designed.
Oh, wow.
They paid me $15,186, and I loved every second of it.
That's awesome.
And I worked on a big account, an automotive account, and I guess the good news is that there was such an incredibly large budget, as automotive typically has, that I was able to get really well versed in all media. Okay. So that was a great foundation for me as a media expert, and Food Network obviously is media and it's food. So understanding just how all media works, how to target, how to think about strategic media planning, and thinking about how the creative makes its way into media. This was all just great training for ending up as a head of marketing for Food.
So that's where that gave you kind of the first overall glimpse, I guess, of how everything works.
Yeah, and I love targeting. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I love the idea that you could see something or find a message from a brand, that they would find you, and they would know where to find you. And that was sort of the beginning of my fascination with targeting.
Cool. And then when did you, that was in LA, and then when did you move to New York?
Moved to New York 3 years after I started at Chiat, and it became TBWA Chiat Day, so consolidation was happening even then.
Yeah.
And I worked on Nickelodeon, so I got promoted and started working on Nickelodeon, and really fell in love with entertainment.
Yeah.
Funny that I came from LA and kind of ran from entertainment and ended up working in entertainment in New York.
That's true.
So I went to Nickelodeon. I ultimately left Chiat and went to Nickelodeon and worked as a marketing manager. Nice. And had a really great run there. Yeah, I launched SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, that's an exciting one.
I'm probably dating myself. July 7th.
Awesome.
And worked on the Kids' Choice Awards.
Oh, that's huge too.
So just learned how an entertainment company, TV brand, Nick is so much more than a television brand, obviously, how all of that works together.
Right.
And that was really great training to think about 360 in a way that encompassed on-air, consumer products, digital, research, press, talent relations. So they were doing, everything at such a high level that I got a really great introduction to marketing at a high level with incredible assets. Yeah. Nick being sort of the #1 kids player at the time.
Cool. And then you ended up at the Food Network. What was it about the Food Network that appealed to you?
Well, it's funny because a recruiter called looking for a director of marketing at Food TV. And the woman who got the call came to me and said, I got this call from this Food TV, and that's all you're ever talking about. So you should talk to them.
Food? That's
Food Network.
So funny.
The Food Network's looking for a director of marketing, and I was so happy at Nickelodeon. I had so much going for me at Nickelodeon, but I talked about Food Network all the time. I don't even necessarily remember that. And then once I went to Food Network, people would say to me, of course you're at Food Network. People that had worked with me. I said, why do you say that? They said, because you're always talking about where you're going for lunch, where we went for lunch, what you had for dinner last night, what you're having for dinner tonight, and you're always asking us what we ate and how it was. And I said, I just didn't realize that I was that nosy.
That's amazing.
So I went to Food Network and I was there for 16.
Yeah, 16 years. It's a long time.
Yeah.
What were your favorite things about working there? What were some of the challenges?
As I said, it's a marketer's dream to be able to sort of intersect food and entertainment and in such a inspired way. Yeah. I feel like Food Network really created a genre of content, which is food entertainment. Right. And I think there was great food programming out there. The Julia Childs of the world, even Martha Stewart, doing food at a really high level. Food Network brought food entertainment together in a way that hadn't been done. Right. And I feel like the opportunity to market that brand every day. I mean, I'd walk in half inch off the ground every day, for 15 years. And it's because of that brand. And then right there with that were the people. Yeah. I mean, we had an incredible executive team. It was a small, tight little group. Yeah. We all reported into the president. And then I had an unbelievable team that I was able to oversee and work with. Yeah. And I think the good news is that when you do well, you get more responsibility.
Right.
So for me, it was started in marketing, then ended up getting promoted and taking over creative, taking over press and talent relations, taking over PR. So the brand and the people, for sure.
Yeah. And what were some of the challenges that you found there?
Well, growing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that when it's just a few people and the stakes are, high, medium.
Right.
You can make some decisions and you can fail, and it's not so public and it's not so costly. And the challenge with growing and becoming a top 10 rated brand is that no one thought you could do it. No one thought food TV could ever be that.
Yeah.
But also it just becomes bureaucratic, and it becomes getting things done is harder.
Right.
And there's a lot of steps and a lot of processes, and they're not always good.
Right.
For groups.
Right.
So I think the challenges were understanding what we needed to do from a financial perspective, where we needed to be from a financial perspective, and making sure that the team was aware of that enough that they could operate and not work in a vacuum.
Right.
That what they were doing, they understood there was a greater goal associated.
Right.
So X show that we're launching needs to be successful and hit this number. What does that mean for the quarter of our ratings? What does that mean for the financials of ad sales? Like, you need to understand the importance of this show, not just because it's important, because it's this important.
Right.
And in essence, you need to be thinking about the level of emphasis that we need to be putting on this. So even in your day-to-day, if you're prioritizing work and you're not prioritizing this A-level priority, and you're making it, two priorities are at the same level, that's not strategic. So understanding the big picture, I think, was always a challenge to make sure the team had enough information, but not too much information in order to be successful.
That is so important, I think, because when you're in those kind of jobs, when you're, supporting, or maybe you're just, like when I was at Food Network, I was, assistant coordinator, kind of like a support staff. It's hard to see the big picture, actually. So I think that goes a long way, for sure.
I don't think everybody gives you the big picture.
Yeah,
and I think
does.
It should be empowering to know that what you're doing adds up to something bigger. And then you should be able to make your own decisions about how you manage your time based on those priorities.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what level. There's just a level of common sense that everyone needs to. And if you don't have that information, I don't think you feel part of something. And I think feeling empowered to make decisions, not being micromanaged, and feeling valued, I think is just the key to being a good leader and liking your job.
Right. Absolutely. What was your experience like as a judge on the next Food Network star? Did you enjoy being on TV? Was it a little awkward at first? What was that like?
It was just kick-ass. I mean, how fun that I would get to have this side hustle, that was judge on a reality show.
Right.
I feel like I had been pregnant. I was nursing. I mean, I was very emotional some episodes. I was actually pregnant and I didn't know it in one episode. And I was very emotional, and then I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. I would get emotional when I was watching, them like spill their hearts out, these sweet finalists, and my boobs would be leaking. Like, it was very like a personal journey.
Right.
But it was an incredible opportunity.
Right.
And I remember the day when they walked in, CBS Productions started the show, did the first sort of pilot for us. And they said, here's a video.
Yeah.
We're going to put it in a TV monitor. We just sit in a conference room and react to it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, tell us what you think of what they're doing. And so I just told them what I thought.
Right.
I did it for a few people in the office, and I guess, I did okay. And they gave me the gig. So I think in the beginning it was like I didn't get it. We did it kind of it was pretty low budget. And then the show obviously grew and became, sort of one of the #1 shows at Food Network.
Right.
It was just exciting, I think, to be marketing it, to be thinking through about partnerships and ad sales alliances, to be thinking about PR and some of the talent, promoting the talent, meaning the new faces that we're finding, as well as the established talent that were in it.
Yeah.
And then it was really cool to be on the other side of it, finding our next talent.
Right.
Because what I did a lot at Food Network, certainly towards the last, I'd say 7 years, was focused on talent brands and how we could leverage the talent brands in order to create gain.
Right.
And that could be an ad sales deal with, McCormick Spices, or it could be a deal with Dish Networks and a particular talent, or it could be something for ad sales at, MediaVest for the day.
Right.
So just when there's so many talent needs for that brand, it was so incredible to have them as assets And we wanted 1 + 1 = 3. Right. So I did a lot of work with a great team of people in thinking through how do we leverage the talent as their own brands,
right,
combined with Food Network to create something bigger, for a great game and offer us an advantage. You know, in the marketplace, it was a tremendous advantage. I think that when I got there, it was the talent do shows. That's what they do. And after, it turned into endorsement deals, deep partnerships on publishing, going into consumer products with them. We did a deal with Kohl's and Bobby Flay. We did a deal with I think it was 57 different talent deals with our advertisers, making millions of dollars for them as well as for us.
Right.
So
Rachel Ray had a huge one too. Was that Kohl's also? Ziploc, that's what it was.
I mean, she's obviously
now
got
she's
her own.
On,
and the dog food is an incredible success for her. What an interesting idea. So I feel like it was ours to lose, you know. Right. I feel like next to Food Network Star was such an incredible platform to show the behind the scenes of what's happening,
right, and
how we actually go about it. I mean, it was so authentic in that way.
Yeah.
But from there, it really made me think about, talent represents an interesting opportunity here. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that I would have gotten there if I hadn't had that role in the show.
Interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, especially because, I mean, Food Network, I think, was responsible for this whole trend of these cooks and these chefs are basically rock stars now, right?
Yeah.
And you weren't really seeing that happen before that.
I mean, I think there was a few, like I said, Martha Stewart was obviously a rock star and wasn't on Food Network.
Right.
We acquired some of her shows.
Right.
She didn't do like original stuff for us. But anyway, I think that the timing of our chefs growing in popularity so that they were as famous and as interesting as any top level actor or actress, but also the need for content, right? Advertisers are just desperate to try to do something above and beyond, the typical 30-second spot that promotes the features and benefits of their product, right? They're just desperate to create really interesting content that they can put out across social platforms. And talent, great content is often fronted by great talent.
Right.
So that kind of bubbling up in conjunction with they're brands and they all have a lane and we've got health and wellness and we've got barbecue over here and we've got, Asian fusion or Indian and we've got home cooking and we've got kitchen tech. I mean, we just have so many different types of talent that matching up the talent's DNA with a brand DNA and creating a great kind of media marketing and content story was just right on time.
Super fun. Love it. And now you've embarked on your own entrepreneurial business. You've moved on from Food Network. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me about Fogelson and Company. What do you do? Like, what kind of clients do you have? What's it about?
Well, not on the heels of, the work that I did with a lot of brands at Food Network. When I left, I really felt like there was a need in the marketplace that was related to just how explosive the food world had become, right? So it seemed to me that food marketing was actually a thing, just like sports marketing maybe, or even music marketing maybe, which you could say is all entertainment marketing, but there was a specific facet that is food marketing, and that brands needed help thinking through this food culture, so the food ecosystem, and that could be products on shelves, experiences, recipe content, instructional content, YouTube video. I mean, it's just everything. There's just so much food content out there. So how does your brand represent in that culture? And understanding the food connected consumer, right? Because gone are the days where, we call people foodies anymore, right? Foodies is an exclusive, small, upscale little group of people that are connected to food. Food is anything but that. Right? It's inclusive, it's global, it's big, it's young, it's a specific mindset, but it's broad. So the food connected consumer and food culture are these sort of specific things in marketing. And the idea that you would need a strategy and some help storytelling seemed to make sense to me. So I started Fogelson Co. to do that. So what I say is I help brands find their food story and tell it. And this is really food strategy and storytelling. And we've had a lot of traction with big food. I mean, I think I just read this. I think there were 1,100 mergers and acquisitions in the food space in 2017.
Oh, wow.
At totaling like $77 billion.
Oh my
right?
God.
So this is big food purchasing small food startups.
So we're talking like the Crafts and the Nabiscos, those kind of companies.
Or from Nestle to Unilever to Kraft. Purchasing small, artisanal, specialty foods.
Okay, wow.
Because big food, no disrespect to Oreos and Doritos.
Right.
And they do huge business.
Mm-hmm.
But food needs are changing.
Right.
People's curiosity and their desire to take care of themselves are changing. And that food may be in the picture, but there are other options that need to happen. Okay. And I feel like big food, sometimes they can legitimately go there, and sometimes they need to borrow equity. Okay. So they're buying and gobbling up and acquiring and incubating a lot of small food brands.
Huh.
So helping big food figure that out, working with private equity. I mean, there are a lot of food and beverage focused private equity and venture capitalist firms, right? They're looking for the next Kind Bar.
Right.
So the idea that we would work and help them make the right bets made a lot of sense. So that has, that's a food strategy.
Is it mostly acquisitions, or is it also like helping them create products that are catered towards this new food connected consumer?
Well, it's working with the startups. So we're working with some startups that are thinking about plant forward cuisine, that are thinking about kind of grab and go convenience. And so the idea that there are startups, there are venture capitalists looking to invest in those startups, as well as big food looking to invest in those startups. So that's a really interesting ecosystem there.
That is really interesting.
And then restaurant groups. I mean, you've got this sort of blurring of fast food, casual dining, fine dining are all blurring, right? Fine dining is now doing takeout. Right. And fast food is now doing fine food, right? So fine casual. Yeah. And everybody wants to grab and go, but they want it to be delicious and high quality and affordable. Right. So how does fast food is transformed? I think, Shake Shack is a great example of really, good food, really quick and easy. And the demanding consumer wants that convenience. Casual dining is in a bit of a challenge because it's not grab and go, but it's not an hour of fine dining. Right. So what do you go to Applebee's for? Why are you going to spend 45 minutes to an hour there when you can either grab and go or sit and have a great meal? Why? Right. So we worked with Applebee's on a big project that included how to bring their signature menu items to life, how to create a richer experience inside the restaurant.
That's a fun project.
Yeah.
What kind of menu changes did you make?
We worked with their signature menu items. Okay. So the idea that they have these hot performing items, foods that people love, and everything from their Fiesta chicken salad to their appetizer sampler platter, but making that even richer of an experience. Okay. So we played with an idea called Family Style 2.0. Okay. So we all know that hot pots are really trendy, right? Everybody wants to sit around a table and make their own version and share it with each other and say, hey, try mine and do it together. Like that experience is important to people. It's so much more than just going out to eat. It's a shared experience. So trying to borrow equity from that idea, like I always think of it as kind of the quintessential food that I think started this was like fajitas. It comes deconstructed and you can make your version and you don't like peppers, but I do. And I want you to I did mine with beef and I want you to taste mine and you're going to do yours with chicken or pork. So this simple idea that we're actually creating Family Style 2.0 and making these experiences feel like barbecues, like celebrations. Right. And then a simple concept that I think a lot of restaurants are doing is bringing stuff tableside. Okay. So making the peeling, sort of peeking behind the curtain. Right. So when you order a dish, it doesn't just come made and served. Yeah. You actually have an opportunity to watch it be constructed and to hear a little bit. That's true. I didn't even think about that. That's right. There are many restaurants that have been doing versions of it. Guacamole's been served tableside. Right. Some Italian restaurants do Caesar salad. So I feel like we just borrowed equity from some things that were obvious winners. Right. And for them, they needed to create, they needed to transform quickly. So the idea that they would do things that were doable, right? There's sort of long-term, right, and then there's short-term. And I feel like these were some good short-term solves that are testing in markets now. Love that. Very cool. That's exciting stuff.
And what was your own personal intention behind, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious because you're such a food lover, but what was your intention in starting Fogelson and Company, and what kind of higher purpose do you see yourself serving for the world with this?
You know, you always are thinking about that. I mean, I think that, you know, smart with a heart, I think is what all hopefully good leaders are thinking about, how to add value. We're a small company, so I mean, I think there's companies that have scale that can, you know, move the good needle, if you will, much faster. But I guess I would endeavor to working with brands that can be thinking about how they can impact, right? So if we don't necessarily have scale right now per se, but we work with brands that have scale.
Okay.
So if I'm working with a restaurant group or I'm working with a food brand, where is the kind of soft underbelly within the marketing, within the campaign? Is there a way to think about doing good in the idea that also drives business?
Right.
And I think that there is.
Yeah.
So it's not a specific answer, but I think it's always thinking about cause marketing is not a option, you know?
Sorry.
It's okay. Cause marketing is not optional, right? Really good brands are thinking about how do we, you know, do business and impact the environment or consumers, how do we impact them in a positive way?
Right.
So choosing to work with brands that really get that. Also, I think, you know, taking on a pro-social client, pro bono, is a really good way of allowing our expertise to benefit an organization that is out to do good.
Yeah.
So we have some proposals in play right now that are with childhood hunger organizations.
Oh, I love that.
And we would take those on, obviously pro bono, because we feel we could add value and we believe in what they're doing.
That's amazing. Really cool. We've kind of delved into some of the food trends with your clients. What are some of your favorite or some of the biggest food trends going on right now that are supportive of the mindfulness and wellness movement?
I think it's probably the biggest right now.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Oh,
right.
Cool.
So it's everything from food safety to food trackability to clean labeling. And I mean, every brand is trying to think about in some way how they can be forthcoming about either where their products are from or how their products get to you in a way that's truthful and authentic, right? Not every brand has that story, but I think most brands are trying to think about it. I think what the catalyst to it, though, is this desire for mindfulness is not just something that I go do an hour a day in my yoga studio, right? Mindfulness and self-care is something I think about from the moment I get up. And if you're a parent, you're thinking about it for your kids.
Right.
If you're a child, you might be thinking about it for your parents. Like, I think everybody's thinking about how can I care for myself? And again, I don't mean just meditation.
Right.
I mean what I eat, how I treat the world. And given the choice, millennials will always opt to purchase products. The large cross-section of millennials will always opt to purchase products that are doing something. They want to support causes, not companies, right?
It's true. They'll pay a little more if it's making an impact. Yeah.
So what you do matters, and it's not just about the bottom line. There is a triple bottom line that does include the environment, and I think people are thinking about that. And it comes from, probably a mistrust.
Oh, you think?
I do. I think there's a mistrust. Politically, I think people are frustrated.
Right.
I think the Me Too movement, I think, women feel they need to advocate more than they have before to be heard and be taken seriously. And I think that people are demanding transparency in order to make good decisions for themselves.
Right.
And I think that is probably one of the single biggest trends in food.
That's amazing.
And I think it comes in this form of mindfulness.
Yes.
But it really comes from a place where I need to care for myself.
Right.
And brands that get that and are willing to show themselves will win.
Right. Who are some of your favorite brands that you see doing that right now?
There's so many of these small artisanal brands.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking to Abbott's Butcher,
Okay.
which is a plant-forward company that we're hopefully going to be working with. And the ingredients, natural, plant-based, provocative, delicious, and honest. Cool. And everything about the way they present themselves, it's exactly, and I love the idea that you don't have to be vegan to enjoy plant-forward meats, right?
Right.
That you just want to make a good call today.
Totally.
You just want to have something that is a little lighter today.
Right.
A little better for the environment today.
Right.
Just make a good call today. And I think that's manageable. And I think that's smart, because that's the way that you can scale.
Right.
I think if it's a, finger wagging, you have to be vegan,
right,
or else
you're gonna lose half the people,
and you'll never get them.
Right.
And so I feel like brands that are thinking about that.
Yeah.
I think that Coke is doing really cool things with regards to water and providing clean water, drinkable clean water globally.
Oh, are they? I didn't realize.
They have this one campaign that they don't promote enough that I think is really, really interesting. I think that there are some packaged goods companies that are trying to think about how they can impact restaurants, and not restaurants with consumers per se, but the back of the house. So how can some of these packaged goods companies that distribute products to restaurants think about the health and wellness of the back of the house, the kitchen staff, does it matter? It does matter that the dishwasher feels good about being at the job,
100%,
and that there is a sense of care and concern for them.
Right.
So this idea that the kitchen is a place where health and wellness and mindfulness matter, and corporations really thinking about that.
Right.
So I think there's, numerous brands doing good, and like I said, it's not an option anymore.
Right. So fascinating. I love that. What about you personally? Do you think it's important to eat like organic or non-GMO or vegan or paleo? What are your thoughts on the diets these days? Trends?
Well, I'm fascinated by them, and I'm always, like, some people I know are on Whole30, and I'm always just amazed that they have the sort of discipline to do it. I eat everything.
Okay.
I will never turn if someone has made something for me, I will never not eat it.
Okay.
Like, I don't. I guess I know it's too many chefs to push food away, especially when someone has made it for you, whether it's in a restaurant or not. Food waste is probably my biggest issue. So I'm like the crazy that takes leftover food from the table home.
I do that too,
And then I will somehow make it for lunch the next day, or take that chicken and cut it up and put it in a wrap for my daughter. Like zero waste is where.
I love that you do that. Yeah.
I just that it's just devastating. There's enough food.
Right.
It's not that there's not enough food. That's not why people are hungry.
Right.
It's a process issue.
Totally.
And I just feel like access to good food. I don't. It's funny. I grew up in LA, as you know, and so I ate a lot of strawberries and tomatoes kind of year round. I came to New York, and tomatoes are here for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Strawberries are here for a couple of months, and they're not available unless you bring them in from Chile.
Right.
And so I just have learned that I'm going to just enjoy my tomatoes for those few months a year. I'm going to teach my kids that too.
So you do seasonal.
I do the seasonal. Tastes better, better price, and I don't need something to come 8,000 miles for me. That just feels wrong. When you think about the exhaust blowing out of that plane, ship, or car in order to get that here, it's like, I'm good, I'm going to wait for it.
Right.
And I'd like to even grow it if I can, which is a huge trend. Agriculture.
Yes, the urban farming and all that,
So I guess I feel like I subscribe to, it sounds cliched, local. I do subscribe to it, and it's because I can wait. I want what's good, and I don't want you to waste it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather we eat what you have grown locally, so we don't have to waste any of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm probably more vegetarian.
Yeah.
Just because I like vegetarian food. I like vegetables a lot,
Right.
and I like fish and seafood a lot. And I probably don't eat pork and beef very much, but I will.
Right.
I made cheeseburgers for my daughter and her friends the other night, and made killer cheeseburgers. Like, if you're gonna do it up. I don't like to buy meat that's not humanely raised. We've all seen enough of those videos.
I'm big on that too.
Yeah, I just think I think this has been proven, so it's not necessarily my idea, but the idea that you would be eating meat that was frightened and tortured does not sound delicious.
No, it doesn't.
In the cells of that animal is fear and pain, and that has got to do something to the way that it tastes. It's the muscles. All the blood is flowing through those body parts, and the way they treat animals is so foul that I can't support that.
Yeah.
It makes me upset. I can't support that.
I could not agree with you more. And I don't eat meat. I don't think there's an issue with people eating meat if it's, humanely raised and all that. But I think you're right. Like if the cells of that animal have felt that pain and that fear, and then you're digesting it, and those cells become your cells. I mean, imagine what that does to your body. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And I think it sounds a little precious to say it because I know that the world is eating meat from a variety of sources, and I likely will have partners that are so I don't want to be a walking contradiction.
Totally.
But I just really feel like we've got to figure that piece out. I don't think it's good. Juju. I just don't think it's good karma for the universe.
There's definitely got to be a better way. Yeah.
There is, and it's pretty. I mean, it's slaughtering animals is just part of our existence.
Yeah.
But abusive slaughtering. I don't
there's
know.
a fine line for sure.
So that's my take. Yeah. That's all.
I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but how do you think that businesses can benefit from becoming aware of these trends?
Well, F&Co, which is what I call F&Co, because I can't keep saying Fogelson. It's just, I don't know, I can't do it. So F&Co, so when we think about a brand, then we think about what's happening in food culture, right?
Yeah.
When we think about the food connected consumer, we're thinking about trends. We're thinking about what's happening in the marketplace that we can use as a blueprint to help X brand find relevance. So, for instance, we're talking to Keurig now. Keurig is going to be 100%, the K-Cups are going to be 100% recycling by 2020.
Amazing.
Which is really soon. So Keurig might not have had a, socially conscious kind of culinary angle, but they will.
Yeah.
So this is an important trend. Socially conscious culinary is a really important, it's back to what we were just talking about. Like, it's not just mindfulness and transparency, that restaurants, all food brands need to be thinking about how they can do something that's good for the bottom line.
Right.
So Keurig might not have been able to fit into that scenario. That might not have been a trend that they could be invested in yet, but they will be. So it's really important to think about what's going on with that brand and what trends can they legitimately align with.
Right.
Because if they're aligning with the trends, then they're relevant.
Right. And
if they're doing it in a transparent and honest way, then they're going to win. So the brands that we speak to have to be thinking about the trends, and that's where our expertise is, and hopefully our expertise and their brand's goals can line up. But it kind of begins and ends with the trends for us.
Yeah. What do you think makes leaders and the biggest business leaders in this industry the most successful today?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't want to keep using this word, but I do think transparency.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading Jeff Bezos, the letter to his board that he sort of writes annually. I think he's been writing it for like 19 years. And it's just such an honest transparency about what's working and what's not. That I felt like if that's how he runs his business, I mean, he's obviously an incredible example of a leader. But I guess I feel like it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Having enough information in order to be able to feel like you're adding value, ultimate value, but also not being bogged down with too much detail. And so I think that good leaders. I was in Portugal last week. And we were in this area called Belém, B-E-L-E-M, and it's just beautiful, and there's a lot of historic. I don't remember the name of their president. I don't remember his name. Yeah. But the Uber driver told us that his palace was across the street. Yeah. And that he's always walking around. This was a little waterfront area with little shops and little trees. Yeah. And he's always walking around. He just walks around. I said, wow, that's a really cool thing for the president to do. He said he's the first one that's ever done it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think that that shows a really interesting accessibility. It doesn't mean that he's not smarter than everybody else and shouldn't be the president. Right. But it means that he gets that people are, sort of the engine that drives his need and why he's where he is. Yeah. So I like that. I like leaders that are accessible. Yeah. I like leaders that are honest. Yeah. Brooke Johnson, who was the president of Food Network for many years. Yeah. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time she said, hire people that are smarter than you. Just hire and then let them rock. That's a really hard thing to get on board with, to actually hire someone that is maybe not overall has your experience, but in a certain facet is smarter than you. That's a really, really big way of thinking about doing well And time and time again, that has worked for me. So hiring people that are smarter than you, being transparent, being accessible. I read an article the other day about the woman, the CEO from Spanx. She said her dad, every day her dad would ask her, what did you fail at today? He didn't want to know if she got A's on papers, didn't want to know how many soccer goals she kicked. He wanted to know what she failed at today. He wanted her to obviously get comfortable with the idea that you failed, you figure out why, and you move on.
Yeah.
Just such an interesting orientation. So
That is really cool.
I thought her dad was kind of a cool leader.
Yeah.
So that's not the most succinct answer, but I think those are some of the qualities that make for good leaders.
Yeah, I love that. It's great. Do you think that you would have been as successful in any other industry? Like, do you think that it was food that drove you, or do you think it was business that drove you?
It's a good question. The only thing that came to mind, I have another passion, a deep passion in beauty and skincare.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind
you
of
do have great skin.
No, likewise. I've been taking care of it for so many. I had a neighbor, an Austrian woman who was a neighbor of mine, and she turned me on to facials when I was 16.
Oh.
So I'd scrounge for coins in my seats of my car to be able to afford these facials. So I've been getting facials for a long time.
Oh.
And I am a fan of a little filler and a little Botox. So,
really?
Oh yeah.
You would never be able to tell.
I do a little bit.
You're doing it right.
A little bit. Yeah, but I've been doing it. I was like for my birthday, 42nd birthday, I got myself. Anyway, I'm a fan of whatever makes you feel good.
Right.
I think there's people overdo it, but I think whatever makes you feel good.
Right.
So I feel like the beauty and skincare area for me is, I'm just so passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love trying new things. I don't want to say so much makeup as I love skincare.
Yeah.
And I love, scrubs and lotions and potions and, scented things and different creams and, I just
girly things. Yeah.
I just love it. And so I think I would be successful in beauty and skincare because I love it so.
So it's an equal passion probably that's driving you for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a single passion. I feel like I share food. I feel like I don't know that my kids are that interested, but they see my dresser and it's just covered in, many products.
That's awesome. I love asking people this question. How do you measure success? Like, do you consider your business to be successful today? Did you consider yourself successful earlier in your career, or how will you know when you're successful? What is your value of success?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think, to be honest, I'm just too hard on myself to ever think I've gotten there.
Really?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting to hear you talk about it in the beginning, just like how what I had accomplished, you wanted to aspire to.
Yeah.
Because it makes me think, I guess, I knew it was a cool job.
Right.
I knew that there were many envious people
Right.
that would love to run marketing for Food Network.
Yeah.
But to me, it was never enough, and it was never not enough. It was just, even doing Food Network Star for 11 years, just people think that is so the ultimate. Being on TV is so the ultimate. It was just like, it was my job.
Right.
They were asked, it was part of my job.
Yeah.
So being successful obviously means, attaining a certain amount of professional success and money. Mm. And, money is good because we all like options.
Right.
And money affords us options. Mm-hmm. And privacy, I would say. And privacy, which is nice when you live in Brooklyn.
It's important.
Privacy is nice. Or Tribeca.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm too hard on myself to think that I've ever arrived.
Interesting.
I feel pretty strongly about being a good mom. And I think being self-employed, I have more flexibility with my schedule. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I'm just much less self-important. I think when I was at Food, I had meetings, I was just double booked all day long.
Oh,
and it's just like, what was I thinking? Take a beat and think, I just feel like I was a bit self-important with regards to the frenetic schedule that I kept. And it translated into how I parented. And I think the last 2 years, talk about mindfulness, I wake up like at 5:30 and I sit by myself for a half hour with a candle and a little news or music, and I get centered. And then I'm with my daughter for the next 45 minutes, and that's like our time. Yeah. Because she's on her device, any other. But the mornings are our time. And I have a relationship with my kids that I never imagined I would, working full time. And that is because I am able to control my schedule now. Yeah. And that to me is one of the greatest things about being an entrepreneur.
Totally. That's successful in itself, I would say.
That's right. So I think being a good mom is.
Yeah. We already talked about you eat everything, so you don't keep like a specific diet. Do you have like a workout regimen? What's your routine? What's your workout routine? Do you have a specific ritual that you do to keep yourself mindfulness and focused?
Yeah, I do actually, and I never thought I'd be this person.
Yeah.
But I am the person that leaves their house 3 days a week, travels 45 minutes to the gym, with a big bag slung over their shoulder, to go boxing.
Boxing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I got some pounds.
Who knew?
Yeah. So I found this place, and it was very openly, right when I was transitioning out of Food Network and feeling a little wounded, and a little lost, and I hadn't started F&Co yet, and there's nothing that could have kept me square like this gym. Awesome. So I have a trainer and I box. I circuit train. Yeah. And I box. Boxing is pretty exhausting.
What gym it is?
It's called Mendez.
Okay.
It's on 26, right above Madison Square Park.
Right. Awesome.
And I just met this phenomenal guy. I met him in Paris actually, just this fluky thing. But that's life. Yeah. When you're open and can receive, he came to me, and then so I go there 3 days a week, and I'm this grungy shower and sweating and punching and just it saved me for sure. It saved me. So when you don't know what to do, then just do one thing. You could be so overwhelmed by what's next. What do I do when I leave Food Network? Where am I going to go? Right. Even F&Co could overwhelm me. Is it going to work? Right. I have investors. Like I'm into. Right. Is it going to work? It's like just do what pumps you. And what pumps me is starting my day working out there.
That's great.
And from there I can do anything.
Awesome. Boxing, Susie Fogelson.
I know, right? There's a boxing place
literally right across the street from us. Yeah, we have to check it out. Actually, we've yet to do it, but
you should at least try it.
I definitely want to.
I never thought. I don't like hitting. I don't even watch boxing.
I feel like I would like it too much. Almost. It's like a little.
Some people get a little charge off of like an aggressive, it helps alleviate aggression.
Yeah, I feel like I would be really into it actually.
It's very technical though.
Really?
I never knew that boxing was so technical, and so there's 50 things you're trying to remember, and the old core gets engaged, and you're just sweating.
It looks like an amazing
2 minutes you're sweating. Yeah. So I feel like it's got a lot of, it's really it's a thoughtful sport, and I hadn't thought that about it.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see the state of the world, wellness, food industry, whatnot, in the next 5 years, and how do you see yourself contributing to it?
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, raising good little citizens, I feel like, is my most important job, right? So, kids that, don't take up the whole curb when they walk down the street, right?
Right.
They move, we call it single file. We single file because there's people coming.
Right.
Just thinking about others and being aware of your physical place in the world and being kind. I think kind and hardworking. Bobby Flay said that's what he taught his daughter. Two things, kind and hardworking. He's taught her many things. Yeah. Those are the most important things he raised his kid with, kindness and hardworking. And I 100% agree.
Love that.
So I feel like the state of the world is a big one. I mean, it's a little scary now. Yeah. Especially if you watch Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. That's a little frightening.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's a little frightening. But because it is sort of what's happening now with regards to people's rights and sort of the far right nationalism just on steroids. So I mean it's obviously Margaret Atwood's book, but that now Hulu, I think they've done an amazing job with it. But that's a little scary, dystopian view of society. But I think there is some scary stuff. Yeah. And I think the world is a scary place.
Right.
But things that make me hopeful are I'm really into one trend which is ag tech. Okay. Right, so agricultural technology.
Oh, nice.
Right, so you've got technology affecting everything from plant-based burgers, right? So Impossible Burgers are a result of technology, right? Cool. It's food tech.
Yes.
But ag tech, to me, is going to be a great equalizer.
Okay.
And the examples of that are this vertical farming, right? So you're able to take 100 acres and create 100 acres that say create leafy greens.
Right.
You're able to take a footprint of 1 acre, grow up, and produce the same amount.
So amazing.
But you're also able to do it in the really desolate areas. Okay. So in cities where there are food deserts, right? So the closest thing you can get for lunch is a bag of Cheetos and a orange crush. Right. Now there will be access to vegetables. So this is a great equalizer, right? So the idea that we help the environment by taking less carbon footprint, and we also help create access.
Yes.
I mean, this to me is game changing.
Yes, it is.
And I also feel like people are going to start to become farmers, right? Because the
In
new appliance is not going to be a coffee maker. It's actually going to be a little farming unit in your kitchen.
Cool.
IKEA just made a big investment in this technology.
Wow.
So the idea that, I always feel like when you're hungry, a tomato is a luxury, right?
Right.
And it's just because it's just so far away
Yeah.
from what reality is for a lot of impoverished people.
Yeah.
But this becomes a great equalizer. There's a company called Plenty that Jeff Bezos just invested in, and they are vertical farms. There's a big one, Era Farms in New Jersey. A lot of people, not a lot of, there are a few great companies that are doing it.
Right.
And that makes me hopeful that access to good food, that is not a luxury.
Right.
And doing it so that it's better for the environment,
right.
I mean, hell yeah.
Yes, I'm all for that one too. Last question for you. What's a valuable piece of advice you'd like to give other entrepreneurs who are creating businesses with conscious intentions?
I mean, I don't know. I think the best piece of advice that I got that if I could, pass on, is just don't pay attention to the noise.
Okay.
Like just trust yourself and your mission. There are so many reasons why you could be down and you don't think that things will work, and maybe your mission isn't true,
right,
or timely or relevant. But if you believe in it, just take away the noise and really focus on, if you know that it's right and you believe in it, then just go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part. I think is just waking up every day and knowing that success is going to look a lot different for me than what it did at Food Network,
right,
or what made me successful there, and that this is a new thing, and that I have to just trust and have faith that what we're doing is right, and there is a need for this, and I believe that, and I really do believe that. As a marketer, I believe that food marketing is real, and that you get excited about one thing one day and it disappears and something new pops up.
Yeah.
And I sent this proposal out and I didn't get a response, but then you reached out to me. Like, just trust in what you're doing,
right,
and don't get distracted by the noise, because it's very noisy.
That is such good advice. Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I just think I think what you're doing is really interesting. So I just feel like maybe you just spend 30 seconds telling me about your most recent favorite client.
Me?
Yeah.
For Conscious.Enterprises, I would say, who's my most recent favorite?
I don't want to say favorite. That's probably the best.
I know I've had but the whole thing is that I'm not trying to select any specific industry. So food industry here. I interviewed the CEO of Core for the real estate industry. He was great. I had Saad Simone, who's like a meditation teacher, come over here a few weeks ago. Who else? I mean, I had a good friend, Karan Rai, who's in the finance, private equity. I see he just started an amazing private equity.
And so what are you saying is the common? I think it's fascinating that you talk to different industries.
Yeah, so the common denominator that we're seeing here in terms of, conscious businesses is that they're all valuing, a higher purpose beyond just bottom line. It's like, yes, you want to be a profitable company, you want profits, you want the bottom line, obviously, to be a big number. Everyone does. But you're not going to find fulfillment. You're not going to find happiness. You're not going to find peace within yourself when you get to that number if you're not serving the community around you, making a social impact that empowers people, looking within and working on self-development. These are like the kind of trends that you're seeing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not like something new, it's just, I'm trying to show that this is the new way of business. It's the only way that's going to be successful in the future, I think. And I think we're on the wave and it's happening. Like you said, with all these big Fortune 500 conglomerates eating up these smaller companies, they're starting to adopt, I think, some of that culture,
That's a good point.
Because they probably were the ones that lacked it before.
Yes.
And now these new kind of entrepreneurial sprouts are coming up and they're becoming successful because they are empowering other people and because they are conscious of the world around them and they're conscious of themselves, So, so that's kind of been the common thread here. And I'm so glad I knew that you would be like in line with this because, like I said before, like I even just in the corporate setting at Food Network so many years ago, I remember you told everyone on your staff to take an hour, to come in late or leave early, and I remember after you were pregnant, you had some sort of, I was too young to really care, but like, I remember you would let, the
Moms.
parents, the moms, like, work from home and things like that. And this was before this became a thing. Like now it's a little more prevalent. You're seeing the bigger corporations do it. But that was the first time I'd ever seen it done in a corporate setting. So that really stood out to me a lot. So,
because I think that self-care, at the end of the day, and if you're just taking a moment to notice people and what they need and know how good it feels to work out or have an extra, day with your new baby to hang out in your pajamas. And I think at the heart of that is trust.
Right.
I think that you expect people to behave.
Yeah.
And use a high level of common sense.
Totally.
And not take advantage.
Yeah.
And I think, I've had the privilege of working with many, many people that are trustworthy. And when you have good experiences like that, then you spread it out. I had great leaders. I had the moment I came to New York, I had incredible bosses.
Really?
Yeah. And they just happened to be women.
Yeah.
But I've had great male bosses too.
Right.
And so that's an amazing thing. I think I was good for the job, and I was committed, and I was hardworking, and so I deserved a good boss because I was giving a lot of myself, but I got really lucky.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm like
great to be
over
here.
the moon that you're here.